Okay, today is February 28th, 2016. My name is Sirena La Point. I am a medium, a clairvoyant, and an empath. I decided to do this today to help parents relate to their children that are sensitive, intuitive, might be experiencing spirit. I have a daughter who is sensitive. I feel like she's getting either a firmer grasp on that, or maybe she's just not aware of it more. I know she's talking to me less and less about it, but it's also like second nature to her. But when she first started to come to me with experiences when she was 5, I did not know how to relate to this, and I speak to spirit on a daily basis. So after that point, I started to have quite a few parents reach out to me about the things that their kids were experiencing and trying to know how to relate to that and what they could do to understand it, make sure their kid's not crazy, see if the things that they're saying are even a possibility. And let me tell you, some of the things that my daughter has said to me has really made me question a lot of things, even my own belief. And there was plenty of things that she has said to me that I haven't really, I had no answer to. I had no way to relate to. I had nothing to tell her, but I knew she wasn't crazy, and I knew that she was definitely experiencing these things. So I realized that, our kids in general, this generation, and it started, about in the late 60s, early 70s, we started to become more and more enhanced. So our children are being born way more enhanced than what even we were. And this is because of a few factors. But the main issue with this, and I'm going to get into a couple of these factors in a second, but the main issue with this is a lot of parents these days do not know how to relate to their children, because they're being born more enhanced. They're being born closer to their spiritual side. And one of the reasons for this energetically is the path our planet is on and the natural cycle that our planet goes through. I'm not going to delve too deep into this. You guys can do your own research on this. But basically what is going on is we are moving out of the Bronze Age going into the Silver Age. And after the Silver Age, you hit the Golden Age. So this is very close to what is pulling our planet, this dark sun, or people refer to it as different things. So the energy is increasing. And through this energy increase, it is awakening us. It's unlocking DNA that was laying dormant. It is opening up new chakras. We're about 65 years away from the Silver Age, and once we hit the Silver Age, we're going to be in the Silver Age and then into the Golden Age for 10,000 years. So as we were naturally progressing, and it goes the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, the Silver Age, the Gold Age. So as we've been progressing more towards the end of the Bronze Age, each generation is being born more and more enhanced. And we, as we're being born more enhanced, we are also passing this knowledge down, into our children. So you have genetics going on too, and natural evolution, and what we need to do as a species to survive. So as these energetic changes are going on, we are going to naturally become more enhanced. So we're really starting to see the energetic effects of this, especially in our kids, as we're getting closer to the Silver Age. And this is bringing us closer to our spiritual side with more enhanced gifts and abilities, which is making the veil much thinner and activating all these extra chakras in us. So our kids, this is what our kids are experiencing. And I have my own days that I feel a little crazy, a little out of whack, realize that I'm experiencing things that I cannot explain. So I can only imagine what our kids are going through. But because of this, our kids are more than ever in a position to teach us and help us to evolve. The problem with this is when we have the kids being born more enhanced into a society that is fixated on the convenience of a pill, we are taught if we don't understand our children, then they are the problem, and that we need to give them some sort of medication to slow them down or dumb them down. We're really in this society of convenience, and since our kids are being born in a way that we don't understand, we're looking at this as a problem. And how do you solve your problems in today's society? Well, you give them a pill. I feel very strongly about the fact that you have to be careful giving your child a label, because not only are you setting the course for their life, but you're also charting the course of your own life. You're responsible for that label. Once you allow your child to have that label of being, I don't care if it's ADHD or, manic depressive, bipolar, autistic, whatever. But as soon as you allow that label to be set in place, now you're responsible for it because you're responsible for your child. So before you label your child, especially any label that would restrict them in a negative way or make them and yourself dependent on the medication, because if you have to give your child medication to control them, you are also now dependent on it. I really encourage people to ask the question, is it me that cannot handle this, so-called problem in my kid, and therefore labels it as a problem, or is it my child? Does my child see this as a problem? Is my child the one really having an issue with this? It'd be very irresponsible for me to say every experience a child is having is something, related to the energies around us or, paranormal or something like that. There are some real issues in this world today. For years and years and years, we've been feeding ourselves with really messed up food, which is definitely causing biological effects. And there's a lot of things in our airways now that wasn't there. There's a lot of pollution. These are going to have biological effects. So to say every child that is born that is labeled autistic or bipolar or ADHD, is just connecting to spirit, that'd be super irresponsible for me. But I do ask that you use discernment with this. Because remember, once you label your child as having a problem or an issue, you back this up by society. Once you give them this label, you're backed up by society. You just put your child in this very restrictive box, and this also puts you as a parent into a restrictive box. So use discernment. You have to stop looking at things you do not understand as a problem and start looking at them as a gift. So there's always a solution to everything. If your child is having some sort of behavioral issue, instead of just jumping to the conclusion that there's a pill that can fix it, look at a little more closer. Look at, is this actually a problem? Is this something that I can control? Do I just need to spend more time with them? Is it an attention thing? There's so many factors in here that could be playing a part. So, but how do you do this if you don't understand what's going on? So this is where I kind of want to start. My thesis for today is not about the psychological issues. And John will be able to help out a little more about how if your child is, having some issues, really seeing what those signs are to say, hey, you know what, this is really out of my control and a licensed professional can take care of this better. But I believe wholeheartedly our children are born onto us because, one, they chose to, and two, we needed that. I don't think God's going to give us a child that we can't handle. I think they're put in our lives for very specific reasons, and I think a lot of these children now that are being born today know what these reasons are. I think they're more apt to be drawn to the things that matter to them, and they're not focused on anything else. So, and this is coming in all shapes and forms and facets. So if a child is really into engineering, before they even know what the concept of engineering is, they could be just always constantly tinkering with Legos and Connects and stuff like that, and they don't care about anything else. But they understand that their sole purpose is not interacting with other kids and hanging out in society. They're sent here to build stuff and to, possibly invent something new. So, but other people are going to view that kid as having an issue because they're only focused on one thing. But you have to use discernment when it comes to your children. I'm not qualified to sit here and tell you if your child has ADHD or autism or anything like that. But what I can do is I can help you understand some of the spiritual things that your children are experiencing and how I've been able to relate with my own child. I really had to take a step back and listen to what my child was telling me because it was not in my realm of belief. It was completely outside of my, paradox. There was a lot of things that I just never really either had an opinion on or just didn't know anything about. So
now, I have a question.
Go ahead.
When you said our children chose us, this is one of the things that my daughter had said to me very young, and it kind of threw me off, but she was probably 4 or 5 when she mentioned it, but her and I were just sitting down, and she had told me that she chose me. And she was just like, I'm so glad I chose you as my mother. She said, when I was up there with God as a spirit, he told me I got to choose my family. And she said, and I looked around and I saw lots of different families. And she said, but when I saw you and I saw Daddy, she's like, I knew that you needed me. And she's like, and I knew that you were the one that needed to be my mom. And she said, and not because, and it blew me away how she said it, but she's like, not because you were a perfect mom, but because you weren't perfect. And I needed to be there for you. And she said she also she described a woman, described the smell of her, and she said it was my grandmother. And she said my grandmother was there with her, guiding her to me.
The reason why I asked is because as soon as you started talking, I wanted to be like, you have a woman by you, right? I was waiting for you to finish. I didn't think you were going to mention her. So I would have to agree with that one, like 100%. That she definitely, helps guide your daughter to you. I found it really fascinating when my daughter would tell me about her experiences when she was younger. The articulation that she had, the phraseology that she had, the intelligence that just naturally kind of spewed out of her. The words, the language that she was using, I didn't even, it blew me away because I felt like no 5-year-old should have this information in them. When she started to describe just seeing spirit to me, she seemed to have a understanding right off the bat that she was seeing this and not everybody else was seeing this. And she understood very quickly that somebody might view her as, crazy or something wrong with her because she was seeing this. So she would start off by going, well, I'd be crazy if I was seeing something and not everybody else was seeing it, right? And I'm like, well, no, not necessarily. Everybody has their own perception. This world is made up of many, many, many different perceptions. I said, what I see, you might not see, and vice versa. She went on to tell me about this man that she encountered in her kitchen in the middle of the night. She got up to go to the bathroom, and there was this man sitting in the kitchen. And she went through this process. Instead of saying, Mom, this was a spirit, she said, Mom, he was physical once, but he's not physical anymore, and he wasn't an intruder. And you know how they do special effects on TV? And I said, yeah. She goes, well, this wasn't fake like that. This wasn't like special effects. And then she started to tell me the difference between lucid dreaming, which really caught me off guard, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And this is how she knew that this person was really a person at one time and wasn't there to harm her, but wasn't anymore. And so that's when I just listened to her, and her story, to sum it up real quick, was she said she got up in the middle of the night, went out to the kitchen to get a drink of water, and there was a guy standing there. And she said, Mom, I looked at the guy, and I said, I don't want to deal with this, and I went back to bed. Is that okay? And I said, oh, yeah, that's okay. You know, if you don't want to deal with it, you don't have to deal with it. She's like, okay, because I really didn't. So, and then she started to explain how she knew this. And when I asked her, I said, you know, Mila, where did you learn that? And she goes, what do you mean? Where did I learn that? And I said, well, you know what the word learn means, and you know what the word teaches means, right? And she goes, well, yeah. I said, did somebody teach you about that? And she looked at me in a very, very frustrated manner. She goes, no, Mom, I've known that forever. And I'm like, okay. And it was a lot of little things like that that started off. But then she started to very openly talk to me about her past lives. She knew it was her past life. She was very, very clear on this. Her stories never changed, even to this day. She refers to her mom from her past life as her other mother. And she goes, Mom, she calls her my other mom. And when she talks about her, she said, you know, my other mom from before, from when I was here before. She says, well, I know you're my mom now, and I love you now, but, you know, I would think if I ran into my other mom, I would know that she was my mom before, and I would still love her too, right? I'm like, you know, and at the time that she's telling me this, I never had a belief in past lives or anything like that. So I really had to start learning how to communicate with her. I had to figure out her language. And this is my tip for anybody that is having any sort of experiences with their children that they consider being paranormal experiences or spiritual experiences or you know, things that are going on that you just can't explain. Really start to, you know, first of all, just step back and listen. Listen to what they're saying. And be inquisitive in a very loving manner. Like, don't push, don't pry, because let me tell you, these kids know that society is judging them. They have a very good understanding that they're being watched everywhere and being judged everywhere. So if you push too hard, they shut down, and then you lose that communication. I started to listen to the word choices my daughter was using. When I started to explain my understanding about spirit to her, she started to explain her experiences in two different ways. When she saw a spirit, it was either labeled a spirit or a ghost. And a spirit were the ones that she was okay with. Even if she didn't recognize them, there was something about them that made her feel comfortable and she was okay seeing them. The ghosts were the ones that scared her. And when I asked her why the ghost scared her, it was for a couple different reasons. Sometimes it would just startle her. Sometimes she didn't understand what she was seeing. And sometimes they were, I guess, like kind of antagonizing her. So
my daughter had that same experience with ghosts, and she was getting really frustrated with it. In our old house, she had mentioned there was two little girls that would come in her room every night, and they kept asking her to do things, and she didn't want to do them. And they wouldn't leave her alone. They wouldn't leave her alone. And this is around the same time I first realized something was going on with her, because very nonchalantly at dinner, she mentioned it. And she said, I don't know how to turn it off. And I said, turn what off? And she goes, all the people that keep talking to me and saying my name and asking me for help. She's like, I don't know how to turn it off. And I said, what people? She goes, oh, you know, those ones you can't see. And she's like, especially the two little girls, she goes, that I see. And she's like, I don't like them. They won't leave me alone. And she's like, they keep asking me to do things. And I'm like, what kind of things? She goes, I forget, you know. And again, she was between 4 and 5 around then. And she goes, I forget. And so it's progressed. And recently her frustration is that now these people that nobody can see are following her to school. And they're disrupting her while she's trying to concentrate. And they want her to tell her friends things. And
so
she said,
you have to, not to cut you off. I'm sorry about that. Remember how I was saying, like, listening to the words that they used and really listen to, like, their dialect? Do you understand your daughter's communication thus far? The way that she's describing this, do you understand your daughter's language? Because all kids, like, have their own little language and code.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm taking from it is that, you know, there are people trying to come through to her, maybe to give a message. I feel like the energy that was in our old home was very negative. I personally was only in that house like 6 months. I had to leave. I couldn't be in that house. It just felt very dark to me. I felt like we were not wanted in that house. And I was afraid, you know, with my daughter being so young, I didn't want something to overcome her that she couldn't handle and that I didn't know how to handle myself.
Well, it sounds like right now that your daughter can't handle it because they're following her.
Right.
Okay.
And that's where I'm not sure how to help her with that.
I'm gonna help you with that. That's the whole point of this, is to help you learn how to relate to her. Okay. So first of all, what is your daughter's age?
She's 7.
Okay. So what I have found is, when I was saying in the beginning that the kids just naturally are being born more enhanced. So, I mean, it's really not uncommon for me to talk to a parent and they're like, oh, my kid's talking about seeing spirit or having this or that or, you know, whatever. We still live in a physical world. And this physical world, there's a lot of judgmental viewpoints, and we are creatures of habit, and our kids learn from example. So as they're out and about, they hear all these different views. And about the time that a child can learn how to lie, I mean, really understand a lie, and this is different in all children. This means that they have started to understand that people are judging them. And they have started to become aware of all these different viewpoints and society, and they realize that, oh, I can manipulate people, or they're allowing people to kind of get inside, you know, their own head and put their own logic in there. This is a very pivotal time in any child's life when it comes to their spiritual side, because once they learn how to lie, one or two things are going to happen. They're either going to shut it down, because people, they feel that people are going to call them crazy, or the people that they're growing up around isn't going to accept it, and they want to fit in. They want to naturally have a connection. So they're going to try to shut it down. Or they are going to move past that stage and still be talking about it. Those people that move past that stage of knowing what a lie is and knowing how to use a lie and still talk about spirit, those are the ones that are 100% always going to be connected. They're always going to be connected. We're all connected, but we come in at different levels into this world. So for your daughter, she's 7. She's past that point. So this means at this point you have to look at how to control it and how to relate to her and how to get her to understand that you're accepting of this and that this can be a gift if she chooses to use it as a gift, et cetera, et cetera. Number one thing that you always have to keep in mind, and this is something that you always want to instill in your child when it comes to any sort of enhancement or spiritual gift, that you and they are always in control. Always. There seems to be some sort of like unspoken rule in the divine that if you put your foot down in the physical and say, you are not allowed to follow me to school, or you are not allowed to come to me in that manner, it's like they can't. I don't know how to explain this to people. All I can say is that it works. Energy, you have to understand how energy works to understand what's going on with your daughter. Everything we do, touch, feel, think, it creates energy. Everything is made up of energy. So even the slightest thought, you're putting energy out there. When it comes to spiritual things or energy around you or in your life or involvement with spiritual things, intent and belief is everything, because your belief carries that intent. So it makes that energy much stronger in your thoughts. So you always want to have that belief that you are in control. You have to know that you are in control. If you know that you are in control and you can put up a block or a boundary at any time and set the rules, it works. It literally, that it will build a shield around you and will block all that stuff out. For someone like your daughter that is still having these experiences at 7, and they seem to be getting increasingly more and, stronger, or however you want to say it, even if she puts up a block or boundary, she's going to be a lot like me, where, and really anybody that puts up a block or boundary, if it's important enough, it's still going to get through. You're not going to block out everything. It also sounds like, I do think that you are correct when it comes to they're following her to give her messages. When you are open to spirit, and when you have, like, specifically like a medium, I'm going to work very specific as a medium here. When you're a medium and can talk to spirit or have this connection to spirit, which is energy that is not the physical anymore, that is not, but still connected to us physically in some form. It's just, they're just in their divine form. But they realize, like, hey, there is this person on earth that we can work through. What we look like to spirit is kind of like a bug lamp. We attract spirits. They stick to us. There's so many times that I will walk through an area and I literally feel like a fly trap or something, and just spirits are just getting stuck on me. It's really weird. So I actually had a spirit describe what this is like to them, and they describe us as like these kind of beacons of light, or these bright lights that attract them. So when you're a medium, you could be in an environment, say your home, and you could just be minding your own business, but you have homes around you, or cars driving by or people walking by that has these spirits that are connected to them. And all of a sudden they pass your house and they're like, oh, look, there's a big welcome open sign. I'm going to go right in there. So you literally attract them everywhere you go. And then once one gets kind of stuck to you and you go someplace else, then the other ones will start joining along. They're like, oh, look, she can hear me. She can see me. And even if we choose not to pay attention to this, they still attract to us. So there's a problem. And I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to have to learn how to get this under control, help your daughter get this under control, or it can cause very major physical effects on a human body. Spirits are of a different frequency than we are here in the flesh. So when these different frequencies, these different energies get close to you, your physical energy has to work to either match up with it or try to repel it away. So when you match up with their frequency, then you can hear them. When you don't match up with their frequency, you're trying to push it away. Either one creates a huge strain on your physical body. It's like working out nonstop all day long. It increases your heart rate. It can mess with your circulation. It messes with your sleep. It can make you very, very moody because you're absorbing all of their different physical, the attributes that they had on the physical, or their emotions connected to certain people or messages they want out. You become a emotional sponge for spirit. So I have found that it's easier to let them speak, get their message out, than to try to block them out completely or to absorb all that stuff. Because what it was doing was literally making it to where I could not sleep. I had huge emotional, out of control, like ups and downs, and a lot of physical symptoms and effects from the things that they went through in their life. My heart would race. I felt like I had horrible social anxiety, didn't like to be out in public places. Sometimes I was okay. Sometimes I just would freak out in stores, or I don't know. It was really, really, really bad for me. So after talking to other mediums that didn't know what was going on and then went through their journey and, kind of got under control, a lot of them say the same thing, that they have these physical effects. So if you don't take care of that, that can build up, and she can have a lot of stress-related medical issues, also emotional issues, or be diagnosed with psychological issues. Do you understand that?
Yeah. And that's one thing that I've noticed recently with her is she's very social. She's very personable, likable, just a lovable little girl. She goes with the flow, very easy, breezy type of girl. And lately she's been having trouble sleeping, wanting to come in my room, just kind of excluding herself from everybody. And yeah, just kind of more emotional. She'll get really upset real quick, and then she's okay, for a little while. And I mean, she got invited to a slumber party for next weekend, and she just told me she just doesn't think she can go.
Well,
and that's not like her at all.
Look at it from her point of view. She's having these spirits follow her to school. She's starting to have that effect on them. Innately, she knows she can go to that sleepover and start picking up on things, but then she's left, to her own demise. Like, what does she do once she's there if all this stuff starts going on? That's a pretty scary situation.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it in that sense, now that you're explaining all of that, that makes a lot of sense.
So we're going to break this down a little bit, and I'm going to, some of the stuff you already know. You already kind of figured out what was going on. But I still want to kind of break this down step by step just for anybody that decides to listen to this, okay? So the first thing you always want to do is really listen to your child, listen to their dialect. Listen to what they're saying, how they're describing things. Don't ever jump to the conclusion. If they don't understand something, it could scare them. If something's startling them, it can scare them. It doesn't mean that you have a demon or something like that running around your house. I get a lot of messages like that. Oh, my kid saw something and that must be a demon. No. It's, no. Trust me, you'll know if you have a demon in your house. That's all I got to say. So you have to listen to your child, and you have to just hear what they're saying to figure out what's going on with them, and then you learn their dialect. Every child learns differently. How are the teachers working with them in school, or what classes are they really drawn to, or these are things that you want to start looking at to know how to deliver the information. Some kids are visual learners. They have to watch stuff. Some kids are very hands-on. They need to be doing it while somebody's telling them, or they need to be doing it while they're watching it to really grasp it. Some you can just sit there and talk to them and they get it. Or some can just read something and they get it. So once you start figuring out your child's dialect, like I was saying, my daughter would say ghosts were the ones that would scare her and spirits were the ones that she was okay with. Then you want to think about what type of learner they are. So how do they learn? How does your daughter learn? Do you know this? Do you know how she catches on to things really quick? Can she do this on her own? Does she watch YouTube videos and then recreate them? Can you just tell her something and she can do it?
Yeah, she's you can just tell her something or say something once and she remembers everything. I'm pretty sure she has a photographic memory.
Okay. So does she like to investigate things on her own, or does she like people to just give her that information? Does she take the things that you say as like, okay, this is fact, or no, I have to look into this and see if this is true?
She likes to look into things. I mean, she doesn't like go on the computer or anything. She really is not tech savvy like all my other kids. That really doesn't interest her a whole lot. She likes conversation. So she'll sit down and ask you, and she'll get very serious and, the whole why, but why.
Right.
And then she'll give you her reasoning. She likes to argue. She loves to argue, but in a very constructive way that makes you think that maybe you're not telling her something right, she's, yeah.
Well, that's her process. She's not arguing. What she's doing is she's hearing your point of view. But you got to understand, she's hearing the point of view from all these other energies around her, because spirits are people, and there's millions and millions of different types of people out there. So we all have different perspectives and viewpoints. Every spirit, every single session I do is completely different. And if this spirit tells me, the same thing as another spirit, chances are it's going to mean two different things, because we're all individuals. So what she's doing, that's her process of elimination, to know, okay, is what mom is saying, does that match up with what I'm feeling in my core, or what I'm hearing from all these other, energies around me? Do you understand that?
Right.
So she's actually doing her process of elimination to build her own truth.
Yeah, she's not really, she doesn't take anything at what you say initially. She likes to, discuss it out and argue it out and come up with her own conclusion of what she feels.
I was the same way, and you know what? My daughter's like that, and it drives me crazy. I just want to have a simple conversation with you. Like, why do you have to debate me on everything? But, you know, as frustrated as I get, I go back and forth. It gets difficult sometimes. Like, I live this, and I know how I was when I was a child, and I know my daughter is, like, so much like me, but it doesn't make it any easier when you're in those times, you know, when...
Right.
Because it does come across as a debate or arguing, but really, you know, and I try to step back and remember this, as frustrating as it gets sometimes, and sometimes I just have to physically walk away. But I have to remember she's going through her process of elimination and building her own truth. This is imperative. And for somebody that is really experiencing all these different fluctuations of energy around them, they have a lot, you know, coming into them. It's like sensory overload. So for her to even be able to kind of get a line of thought and listen to what you say is like a really good thing. You know, even if she doesn't accept it, she's still taking it into consideration. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what she's doing is, like I said, she's doing her process of elimination to build her own truth, which is super imperative, because what society is showing her, what she's physically seeing with her own eyes, is not matching up with her core being, because she is experiencing more than what other people are experiencing. So it's not going to match up with her. Viewpoints are not going to match up. She's going to have to come to her own conclusions. This is one thing that you're going to, as a parent, have to learn how to accept and appreciate, and just know that the way that her mind works is she's seeing outside of this little paradigm, this little box that every other person has stuck themselves in. You know, for the majority of society is stuck within their little paradigm. And everybody has their own little box. They either go 100% with the flow of what society says of, you know, going to high school and then going to college and then, you know, getting a career and getting married. And, you know, but there's a lot of people, you know, that might start their own business and then they kind of stick themselves in that paradigm. I have to do A, B, C, D to run my own business. When you are absorbing all these energies around you and you're getting all these different perspectives from all these different spirits, you're not within a little box. You're getting like all these different perspectives. You're peering into all these different paradigms. So when you look at something, you naturally look at it kind of full circle. So like, you know, when I look at a chair, I don't just view it as a chair. I'm like, oh, I could take that apart and turn that into a shelf or a table, or if I flip it upside down, I could do this or that. She's going to be a great problem solver because she's naturally seeing things for it's not straightforward to her. She can make connections. You could give her, just try this once. I don't know if if she'll do it. I'll try to get my my daughter to focus, and she doesn't ever want to focus or play any of my games. It's on her time. But one thing that I was always good at in writing classes was being able to take two concepts, no matter how different that they were, and show the unity between them. Or if everybody was taking one side on a topic or subject, I would take the complete opposite side and show how that had value and importance also. I didn't do this to piss the class off or to piss my teacher off. I did it because it was kind of challenging, and I could see how everybody was leaving out the other side to it. We live in a duality on this earth plane. So you can't have one without the other. So to be able to see the beauty in both things is a great thing, and that's something your daughter is going to be able to do. You're going to have to keep molding her in that positive way, though, so she does always see the beauty in everything instead of turning into a pessimist and seeing how everything is connected in a negative way. That is something that could very easily happen, having that type of mindset. Do you understand that?
Yeah, yeah. She definitely sees beauty in everything. I mean, her and I
So,
were laying out in the grass this past summer or 2 summers ago, and I asked her if she ever seen a shooting star, and she said, "No, what's that?" And it just, amazes me, and then you forget sometimes when they're little certain things they don't know. And so I was explaining it to her, and while we were laying there, she kept telling me she saw, like, there's one, there's one, there's one, like, over and over and over. And I said, "Now, are you sure you saw all of those?" And she told me, she's like, "Sometimes, Mom, you got to let go of your adult eyes and put child eyes on, so that way you can see things that are so beautiful and amazing." And she goes, "I know they're not really there, but sometimes you got to be creative and use your imagination sometimes." She's like, "You need to take those adult eyes off."
so do this little exercise with her so you can kind of see how her mind's working. Pick two what seemingly like complete non-connecting items, like I don't know, a car and an orange. Something that most people wouldn't see a connection to, and say, how are these alike? See what she says.
Okay.
Or ask her the opposite. How are these different? Different's really easy. But if you put two things that are very similar together and then ask her how they're different, that would be doing the opposite. So take two separate things that are not connected at all and ask her how they're similar, and then take two things that look almost identical or are in very close proximity to each other and ask her how they're different. You'll notice that she can make these very minute connections that other people can't, or she'll start to see how everything is connected, because she's seeing the bigger picture. So she's seeing it how everybody and everything is connected. And this has a lot to do with being able to feel these other energies and this other side to our realm. So when that veil is really thin to somebody, they can make all these connections that most people cannot. And this is a good exercise to do anyways, of getting people to think outside the box and stuff like that. Although I think you'll be surprised of what your daughter comes up with. Now, if your daughter is anything like mine, if I chose to do this on my own time, she'd just be like, I don't know. Why are you asking me that? Well, I definitely have to make sure it's on her time and what she wants to do. I get her playing all these little games with me, but she has to ask to do them. If she doesn't ask to do it, she doesn't want to be bothered with me. So let's look at, first of all, how your daughter is learning. So you want to start by teaching her some very basic fundamentals that's going to help her. You want to get her involved in the basic concept of energy, what on a scientific level, what energy is, how energy works. This is going to help her naturally start understanding what's going on. Just the whole basic concept of energy. This isn't like energy within spirits or people. Just look up the basic concept of energy and either relay this information, or if she's better at reading it, give her something to read. You can say, hey, look, I found this. I thought it was really fascinating. I thought, you might enjoy this. Very first thing you want to do is start teaching her about energy. Next thing you want to start teaching her about is being empathic. If you are a medium, if you're experiencing spirit, if you're absorbing energy, you're also empathic. So what it means to be empathic is, to put it very, very, very simple, you're like a emotional sponge.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that I am, to be honest with you. I wonder about myself as well. I just haven't allowed myself to really open up to it. But I feel I'm a very social person in a lot of ways, and I feel I'm drawn to people, and I feel, I don't know, if their stomach's hurting or their arm is hurting or if they're in emotional pain, I tend to pick up on it, and I physically feel it. There's been times where, you know, my foot will hurt so bad, or
you take it on as your own, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, I know what that.
Have you ever talked to your daughter about this?
Not so much. I guess I just really, I don't know, I believe in all of this, and I know all of this, and I just don't think I've allowed myself to open up enough, because I've had so many things in my life that can't be explained, naturally.
Well, I promise you, going through the process with your daughter and explaining this, you'll come to your own realizations and awakening. I literally just told my daughter today that her explaining her experiences to me, helped me open up about my own experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I said, because how am I going to tell you you're not crazy because you're experiencing this, but not be okay talking about my own experiences? So
Right.
It definitely helps. It really does. It helps a lot. And I don't think I don't know. I think me and my daughter have a lot of unspoken things going on between us. I don't think we've ever really sat down and discussed exactly what I do, but she's just always known, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when
maybe
you're
it can be a process with her to get her to open up more.
You want to take it one step at a time, because if you don't know the core basis of how energy works, what energy is, nothing else is going to make sense. You start there. It's a very basic concept. Every child can relate to, every adult should know. You want to start there. So then, once you know the basis and the core about energy, and the reason why I'm not delivering all of this information in this is because I want to encourage people to do their own research and find their own truth and develop that communication with their child. It doesn't make sense for me to just hand everybody everything that I know. It makes more sense for me to teach people how to teach themselves and teach their children. So your first step is to look up energy and the basis of energy. Once you understand that and know that, when you look at what being empathic means, taking on this energy as your own, having that basis knowledge of how energy works, that's going to make a lot more sense of how and why you can just absorb that as your own. So the next thing you want to start introducing her to is what it means to be empathic. If you start with what energy is and then move to what it is to be an empath, then you'll, as a mother, be able to relate this better to your child in a way that she can understand than, just some random person. You know how she works. You know how she learns. So you want to put this information in a way that she can understand it and hopefully provoke some, investigation of her own and research on her own. But once you get in to that, that's going to start her natural process of trying to figure out if the things that she is feeling is her own, or if it's connected to her environment, or a physical person, or a spirit. Because let me tell you, even if you're empathic and you're picking up on physical people's pain and you understand that, when you throw spirit into it, it's a whole other ball game. Because I'm empathic on that level, and it'd be so much easier if I could just pick up on just physical energy, because if I'm standing there and I'm feeling like I'm having a heart attack, if I'm having these heart palpitations for no reason, and there's another person next to me, well, then I know it goes to them. Or if I get next to somebody and all of a sudden I'm feeling depressed and I wasn't when I walked in there, well, then I know the person's depressed. But when you are a medium and you can speak with spirit or see spirit, you're picking up on all of their emotional imprints as well. So then you have to figure out, okay, are these my own feelings? Is this a physical person's in the room's feeling? Is this a spirit's feelings? Our energy, our essence, our soul energy, whatever you want to call it, it holds the entire story of our lives in it, and all the lives that that particular soul energy has lived. Whatever energy is trying to communicate your daughter has their entire story within them. And emotions, strong emotions, leave a very heavy energetic imprint. So somebody that's sensitive to energy and can read energy or sense energy, you're actually feeling it like you're feeling like these different milestones in someone's life. You're feeling these different energetic imprints. So when they're happiest or saddest, or how they feel connected, or how they feel about the person in front of them that they're trying to connect to, or about a scenario or situation, you're actually feeling these imprints, which will then turn into either a tangible thought or picture in your head, because we are physical creatures. And the only way we can relate to these energy fluctuations is for them to turn into something tangible, like a thought or a verbiage in our head, or a picture in our head. And this helps solidify those feelings that you have. So the only way you can figure out if it's a physical person's emotion, or an emotional imprint in an environment, or a spiritual, or a spirit's imprint, or your own, is to do this process of elimination. Like I always start, and I always tell everybody that's empathic, to start doing that disconnect. You have to start asking the question, do I have a reason for feeling like this right now? Am I actually sad? No, okay, I'm not sad. I don't have any reason to be sad. Okay, so the next, logical place you want to go, is there a physical person in this room, or was there just a physical person in this room? And if you ask the question, is that person sad, intuitively you will know the answer. You'll actually be able to say yes or no. So, and you can feel it. It's on a cellular level. You just know. So if it's not the physical person in front of you, or that was just in that room, then you have to ask the question, is this connected to a spirit? As your daughter starts going through this process, she will start to naturally be able to know where these energies are coming from, and if it's connected to a spirit, or if it's herself, or if it's you. You can help her go through this process, and then you'll understand her physical signs for when spirit's around, because spirits do create physical signs. You might be picking up on an illness that they had, or a strong emotion that they had, and all of a sudden it's really coming out in your mannerisms and your personalities. Well, that's a physical cue. My first physical cue that spirit's around is I feel them empathically. I can feel what they went through when they passed. So I can feel the effects of medication, drugs, alcohol, pain, strong emotions. And it will literally change me physically. It comes out in my personality and my mannerisms. I can feel it inside me, and other people can see this in me. So that's going to help you as a parent start to understand what she's going through and when Spirit's around. It will help her learn how to control how Spirit is able to work with her and when it's not okay to work with her. Through this process of teaching about energy and being empathic and learning how to go through the process of taking responsibility for her own emotions and then giving these other emotions back to whoever they belong to, is going to start teaching her how to put up blocks and boundaries. So as you go through this process of disconnecting from this energy, like if she is in a situation and she all of a sudden changes her complete personality, and you go through this process of going, okay, is this you? Or, are you picking up somebody in the room, or is this a spirit? Or I don't know how you're going to do your dialogue with her, but, however you go through that process, if she connects to a spirit or a physical person or an environment, and you can see that it is physically or emotionally upsetting her, and she doesn't want to do that, right then she can make the decision. That is a beautiful moment. As soon as she has that knowledge of what she's connected to, now she has control of it, because right then she can make the decision to disconnect from it. So as soon as she can make the connection of where it's coming from, she can literally just say, I choose not to absorb any empathic feelings from this entity or from this environment, from this physical person, and it shuts it off. It cuts it. It severs it. Does that make sense thus far?
Yeah, absolutely.
So while you're going through this process, it is imperative that you keep reinforcing, as a parent, keep reinforcing that you and her are always in control. Nothing can or will harm her. She's in complete control. She can tell them when to talk to her, how to appear to her, when it's not okay to talk to her, when it's not okay to follow her. She is always in control. If she gets scared, you want to have something put in place that's going to help her feel protected. This has to go off of whatever your and hers beliefs are. You're the parent, so you still have to help her in this. If you guys have a religious viewpoint, you want to first start there. If you don't have a religious viewpoint, you got to go with whatever you're drawn to. If she's really good at visualizing things, she can encase herself in a bubble. I encase myself in a bubble sometimes, or she can put a mirror up to reflect certain emotions and feelings. She can do mantras. She can just say it in her head, thank you for not absorbing this energy, or thank you for not following me, or you're not allowed to come to me at night. She can work with your grandmother to protect her and be her guardian angel and say, thank you, Grandma so-and-so, for not allowing these spirits to follow me or bother me in school. If she's not comfortable doing it herself or having belief that she can do it herself, she can work with a spirit guide to do that. If she believes in angels, if you believe in angels, you can work with the archangels to do this. Through this process, you have to give her something to lean on to help her realize and really know that she is in control. Because even to this day, there are times that I get freaked out. I get a little scared. I get a little uneasy. It's not as bad, but during those times I immediately amp up my protection. I'll start saying a mantra in my head, or I'll push it off, or I'll bring in, like my little brother that passed away to make me laugh or something. I do all different types of things in different scenarios and situations. But I know I'm in control. I know I can turn it on and off. And this is something you have to teach her. Another thing why you're going through this process is you really want to instill in her that these spirits, they're just people. They're just people. And all people have different personalities. There's going to be people that she's going to get along with, and there's going to be people she's not going to get along with. So you have to start, instead of looking at this as a spirit and something that is unattainable and something that you don't understand. You have to relate it to yourself as this is just a person. What would you tell your daughter about a person that kept following her to school or kept antagonizing her? What would you tell her to do?
Well, she actually had that happen recently. And I told her that she can't be quiet about it, that she asked them to leave her alone. And if she asks them and they don't leave her alone, that she needs to tell either myself or her teacher, so that way we can help her in the situation.
Exactly.
And yeah, and actually now her and this little girl are friends.
So this is the same thing that you have to teach her for spirit. Don't look at spirit as something that's like foreign or that you don't know anything about, because they're just people. You know your grandma. She was a person.
Right.
These spirits are people. So when your daughter is having issues with them or they don't understand something, or you have two little girls that won't shut up, you got to treat them like two little girls. Ground them. Tell them to get that. No, go stand in the corner. Little kid spirits, especially little boy spirits, are some of the most mischievous. And I have to tell people, you have to treat him like a little boy because he's a little boy. So you have to put your foot down. And you have to understand that some people are okay with spirit being in their house, some people aren't. The fact is everybody has spirits in their house at all times. There's nothing you can do about it. So I make a rule. I try not to push out spirit. I will just reason with them or talk to them and, set my rules and guidelines. I don't care if you're here, but this is my house now, and I will respect this house. Now, I had to do this when I actually got to this house. I walked in one day, and there was a spirit up on the landing shaking his fist at me. I was like, oh, it kind of creeped me out. It was the first time I brought stuff here by myself. I was like, oh, hi. I don't mind if you're here. But this is my house now, and I promise to be respectful of I know this was your house at one time, and I'll be respectful of that, but it's my house now, and I need you to be respectful of that. So if you're going to stay here, you have to do A, B, and C. And if you don't do A, B, and C, well, then you have to go. So the people that are okay with having good spirits around, if you tell the child spirit to stop stealing your stuff or running around and moving stuff and playing with doorbells and door handles and stuff like that, they'll stop for a little bit. But they're little boys, and just like little boys like to get your attention, they're going to continue trying to get your attention.
Yeah, she said that the majority of the people that you can't see she said they're almost all kids. Almost all of them.
Well, she's a child herself, so she's going to attract a lot of that energy.
Mhm. That's what I kind of figured, but.
And when you teach her the basis of energy, that's going to come out. Positive attracts positive. Negativity attracts negativity. It's, positive and negative is the opposite. It repels. So, with her being a child, of child energy, she's going to attract children more likely than other ones. But you're going to have to start working with this as if they're people and just telling her how to handle it like people. But have some sort of protection in place so she feels comfortable. Start teaching her that she has control over this, that, it's a gift. Absolutely nothing wrong with her. I mean, just about every kid these days are born enhanced, some more than others. But, and she's going to see this more and more and more and more. It's really less and less common. So if you feel like you're in an area where people are not understanding of this, then, you just talk to her about that and let her understand, listen, this is your gift and your ability and your talent. But just like any talent, some people are going to, get down on you, judge you, be jealous of you, So, it's your choice if you want to say something about it. But understand, some people might not agree with you, or, call you crazy or try to cut you down. But, that's with any talent. That's just the way it is.
Right.
I just had this conversation with my daughter in the car, which was really weird. I was just because she was talking about getting these kids ganged up on her in kickball, and I said, well, sweetie, I said, that's going to happen. I said, you just can't let it deter you and get you down. I said, everywhere you go throughout life, you're going to have somebody get down on you or gang up on you or not support you in something or not believe in you. And I said, you just have to remember that, it has nothing to do with you. And we started talking about, basically me coming out and talking to people about the things that I experienced. And my brother was the one person that was saying a lot of negative things about this out of everybody. Out of, all these different people I was worried about was my own family. That was just my brother, really. And, when I was talking to her about this, which she remembers, my brother getting on me and stuff like that. And having this discussion with her, she really started to see how it does. It ties into everything. So for your daughter to get a grasp on this and understand, it's going to help her in a lot of different aspects of her life. Because these concepts, they're not foreign concepts. I think when kids are experiencing things that we can't relate to, we feel out of control. We feel like our hands are tied, and we feel like we're up against something that we don't know how to handle. But really, it's very, very common, and it's very natural. Another thing that you want to put in place, too, is really start talking to her about death just in a very natural way. It is really not uncommon for my daughter and I to speak about death and what happens when you pass. And I feel like she has a really good concept of death and understanding of death. And just last night she was like, Mom, do you think if we can come back as people, we can come back as anything? Could I be the cat or could I be a pillow? And these conversations, a lot of them she provokes and she sparks up. And, it doesn't, you don't have to be right. Who has a right and wrong answer to this? I don't think there is a right or wrong answer. Every single spirit I talk to is having a different experience right now. It's all from their perspective. So have fun with it. Give them a light-hearted way to connect to death and not have any, the less negative feelings they have towards death, the easier it is to talk to spirit and have that experience, because she's not going to be feeling bad or interjecting any sort of negativity into that experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really important for her, and that's going to help her gain control over this situation, is just understanding, okay, these are just people, and this is just our next step. I explain it a lot, like it's like a vacation where they don't have internet. It's like your family member went on vacation. They're having this great experience that there's pictures somewhere. They have them. They have these pictures. They have these memories. We're just not able to see it because we don't have internet. There's no Skype, So, but they're still, they're still somewhere. We just can't see them. We're not having that same experience. So we think nothing is going on. But it's just like when your parents go on vacation or, that's usually how I explain it to them. It's just like when your parents go on vacation without you and you don't get to see what's going on. They're okay. They're safe. They're having fun, but you're not experiencing it, so you're not really having fun either or about it, because you're not there.
Right.
So I will also explain, depending on the age of the child, I like to talk to them about, like, fairy tales and magical powers, stuff like that. Little boys, I like to put it in ways of, like, superheroes, how their loved ones are, like, superheroes and, you know, have invisibility cloaks now and can use, like, telepathy, and they have all these superpowers, and then also with little girls, like fairy tales, and a lot of them love butterflies, and teaching them about the natural progression of, you know, when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. I'm pretty sure my daughter is still convinced that every white butterfly she sees is somebody that's passed. Because I told her they just turn into butterflies. But, you know, present it in all these different ways. They really get to understand that concept. Since your daughter is already starting to have these, you know, emotional effects and stuff like that, I would highly suggest really starting to kind of put these things into motion. And is she artistic at all? Does she like to draw or anything like that?
She is probably the least artistic of my children, but she is extremely talented in acrobats. I will come home and she'll be literally in the doorway above me and then doing flips, and does one-handed cartwheels, and that's all she does all day. Flips around everywhere.
Okay.
She said she's a ninja.
Well, she kind of is. You know, like, well, I would. Yeah, you might want to look into getting her into some sort of, if she's very physical, you might want to really look into getting her into some sort of energy-based type of, like, kinetic workout type things, like either yoga or Tai Chi or something to really help her get physical control over the energy, if that makes sense. You know,
she's actually been pushing for us to, she wants to start me to do yoga with her at night.
That would be great. Oh.
And I was like, let's do it.
Yeah, no, that would be great, because there's a lot, when she starts realizing that she's in control, she can actually, like, form barriers around her, like with her hands. So the more she gets in touch physically with this energy, if she can feel it, then that could be a way that she could get comfortable at learning how to block things out. Like, literally, like, kind of building it around her with her hands, or taking it out of her way, or, you know, whatever. But this could be a way that can really help her feel, you know, in control over the situation. So I think it'd be really good. So when you have a child that is having kind of this, like, sensory overload, it's not uncommon for them to be very outgoing yet introverted, which is, I know it sounds like this kind of hypocrisy in itself, kind of like a complete opposite, but that's really what happens. When you are absorbing all this energy, you need a release. So those are the times that that you're either, it depends. It can work both ways. When they're really, really outgoing and talkative and connecting with everybody, this could actually be them releasing that energy, but more often I find it that when they're more introverted and don't really want to deal with people, that's when they've just kind of absorbed so much energy that they just want to be by themselves. They don't know what to do. It's kind of like not being comfortable in your own skin. So you have to find a way to release that. With her being physical, it's going to be really easy for her to find ways to release that energy. But if she gets in these moments where she just wants to be alone, it's actually very, very, very common. I'm overall pretty outgoing, but it's like in spats. It's in certain time periods. This isn't anything consistent or anything like that. It's just I really have to go off of like feeling how I'm feeling. If I feel like I just want to be alone, I'm just going to be alone. Or if I feel that there's times like I really don't like driving at all. It's just too much. I'm like, oh, I just have to get home. Or I'll walk in the store and like sometimes immediately I'm like, okay, like I just need to grab what I need to just get out of here. Like, I cannot handle this situation right now. If she starts getting introverted or she seems like she doesn't want to go do the things that she used to, I don't look at it as a big deal. She's going to need time to regenerate and let go of all this energy that she's absorbing. So during those times, make sure to support that. Also find what's really speaking to her. If she's being drawn to yoga, by all means, that's a great, great, great habit to have. It's a great, way to release energy. It's a great way to connect to that side of you. It's also a great way to learn meditation and kind of like quiet yourself down. Also, if she is connected to nature at all, it's another great way to release energy. If she is feeling really pent up, if she's absorbed all this energy from school and the environment and off all these people, and she's just really feeling pent up, just go have her sit outside for a little bit.
Yeah, she loves being outside.
And that will just kind of lift it off of her. But these beginning stages that I'm telling you is really going to build the foundation for her to, one, understand it, and two, learn how to get it under control in her own terms or in your guys' terms, because you're going to have to be like the support in this.
Okay.
But you want to keep in mind that if she's not wanting to go to someone's house, you might just be looking at it as a sleepover and, kids need to experience that, but she's having a lot more going on than just hanging out with some girls, And I didn't think about that when my daughter, freaked out at someone's house. I was like, I don't want to be here. And I'm like, kids are supposed to have sleepovers.
Right.
You need to experience this. And she was not happy with me. I made her stay there. And I wasn't even thinking, oh, my God, she's probably picking up on all this stuff. I do that when I go into new environments. So do you have any other questions or, experiences that, your daughter's had that I might be able to shed some light on and help you understand what she's experiencing? Or
no, I mean, you really kind of gave me a great overview and foundation on what I need to do to help her. And it, with, I think, myself too, it'll be a good experience and bonding moment for us together to kind of do these things and openly discuss it. And, it's funny is that I'll talk to my other children about this stuff, but I don't really talk to my two younger ones about it. And I don't know why. I feel like I need to shelter them so much from it, I guess I just don't want to confuse them on things or.
Well, how old are they?
My kids are 7, 8, and 13 and 22.
Okay. Well, 8's kind of a weird age. Like, 8 and 9. That's where my daughter's at. Well, it's like, it's a weird age. I could really do without age 9 right now. Just go to 12, or I'm not looking forward to 12. Oh. I was very, I guess, overprotective or wanting to shelter my child as well. So I understand that, but also you have to look at it with, where society is going, and this is very, very common and much more acceptable. And who would you rather them learn this from? Because the chances of them at some point in their life, meeting somebody that has knowledge about spirits, or, how energy works, or, the cults is pretty great. And you have to think about, like, where your beliefs lie when it comes to that and what you want to instill in them. And that's really what made me start speaking it with my daughter, because I don't want her looking at this as, oh, this is all fun and games and really cool, and go mess with a Ouija board or something. That's like the last thing I want to see her do, because if she doesn't have control over that situation, then, something bad could attach to her, and I don't want that. So is sheltering the best? I go back and forth. There's definitely some things I'm hardcore sheltering my daughter on, because I know she's going to figure it out herself. But with this, especially with as many experiences that she's having, and you know what, the chances are your kids are going to have experiences. Everybody you talk to, if they're honest, they'll tell you about some sort of unexplained experience that they had. So your kids are going to have experiences with either paranormal experiences, or with spirits, or seemingly like knowing what somebody else is thinking. They come in all forms and facets. So why not explain to them what's going on, so they know how to really learn from that experience in the best way. My daughter has gotten to the point where when she explains stuff, she'll ask my opinion. She'll be like, Mom, I had this dream about this little boy, and I don't know what it's about. What do you think it's about? And I tell her what I think it's about, and she's like, no, I think it's about this. And what she says makes far more sense than what I came up with. It's her way of processing things. So she comes up with her own conclusion, and it is very fitting. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But it's because I stopped sheltering from it. And let me tell you, she asked some hard questions. And I go back and forth sometimes. Like, I'm still scared to kind of give her some information, or just, I guess, readily give her some information. But I have stopped. If she asks me something, I do answer it. If I don't know how to answer it, or I don't have any basis at all, we look it up together and we figure it out. And there's certain things that I have just told her on my own once I finally got over the whole sheltering thing. But, overall, I kind of let her just ask her questions, and then I take it from there. So I try not to push anything on her, but I also try not to shelter her too much. It's a hard one. But I think that's with any area with kids and parents.
Right, absolutely.
I don't think this is any different than anything else that any parents had to deal with, because, I don't give a shit how many parent books you've read. None of it prepares you at all. Nothing at all can prepare you for
each one of my children are, each one of them are totally different. So trying to figure out what's best for each one of them, is always challenging as well.
I just try to get her I try to teach my daughter just how to relate to people instead of being judgmental or just jumping to the conclusion that that's wrong or right. I'm really big on trying to teach her not to judge somebody. I also annoy the hell out of her because I'll give her the opposite of whatever her belief is. Well, what about this? Or it can be this way too. No, Mom, this way is right. Or that person was wrong. I just want her to know that if she says something's wrong, I want her to know why she is saying it's wrong. It's great for kids to have beliefs. You want them to have beliefs. But if they don't know their basis of moral conviction, then it doesn't mean shit. It means absolutely nothing. Your child should be able to tell you why they believe something is right or wrong. They shouldn't say, oh, well, because so-and-so told me. Just because so-and-so told you something doesn't make it right or wrong. So I think when you teach them how to relate to one another and being open to other people's opinions, then that's really where they really start to build their morals and ethics and their own truth. And I think that's all we really can do as parents. That's my personal belief. I know everybody parents differently, and I'm never going to get on anybody for the way they parent their child. But I believe that's all we really can do.
That's kind of what I mentioned to her with the little girl she was having an issue with at school was, maybe she needs a friend. You don't know what's going on in her home life. You don't know what she's dealt with in her life. Maybe she just needs someone to talk to, and that's her way of trying to get attention is by doing the things that she's doing to you. It could be she's jealous because of whatever reason of you. Maybe you're more social or, doing well or whatever the case may be that she feels. Try to figure out why, and not just say, I hate her, I don't like her, she did this to me. Ask her, why are you doing this? What is it that I did? Or try to talk to her and say, is there something you want to tell me, or is there something you want to talk about, and try to figure it out. And some people you just have to move yourself away from. There's, you can try all you want. You're going to have to learn to kind of know the difference, And it's funny because she came home and now she's friends with her.
Right. I think if more kids would take the time to ask why somebody is doing something, or to say, hey, what's going on in your life? Or, why are you so upset? Or, I think that there would be a lot more friendships built. I don't think kids take the time to do that, and I think that's why we have a lot of bullying and stuff like that, because nobody's taking the time to figure out what's really going on.
Right.
They're just jumping into the conclusion.
Usually an underlying issue of something else going on that has nothing to do with what they're doing,
Let me tell you, I was a bully in school for a good, I don't know, probably, I know for sure a good solid year. It could have been longer than that. I don't know. But I would, and I can't, looking back, I can't even believe I did this, but I would walk home from school, and every day I would beat this kid up. It's so bad. I would walk over to school, and every day I would beat up this same kid. And at the time, I really didn't know why I was doing it. I don't even know what started me from doing this. We ended up becoming friends after this, which I don't even know how the hell that happened, because I beat him up for like a year straight. But, looking back, my father was really abusive, and when I got home, my father and my brother would beat the crap out of me. And looking back, I think it was just my way of controlling whatever I could control and releasing that, because I couldn't do it at home. You know, I got the crap beat out of me all day, so it was like kind of my way of getting out my frustrations and picking on someone, you know, that I could control. So there's always something going on, and you know, it doesn't have to be that severe for a child to react in, you know, different ways. But I think if more people took the time, you know, if he grabbed me and said, you know, why are you doing this, then it probably would have stunned me. And I don't know. I don't know. Or I might have broke down and told him, like, Dad, beat the crap out of me. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. But I think, you know, kids go into that with a certain reaction expected. When they don't get it, it definitely kind of shocks their senses. And most kids just respond in fear over those situations or give into it or get angry. And so, yeah, I definitely think if more people took the time to ask those questions and figure out what's really going on, then it would be a lot better. Hey, John, are you on the line? Did you hang up?
No, I'm here. You're so in my area of business.
Yeah. Would you like to chime in here?
Well, I think, you know what, I got to be honest. Surprised me a little bit, not in an offensive way, but you did a really good job with a lot of a lot of central themes. But, you know, just to piggyback and to reinforce, the number one thing that I recommend to parents is to evaluate their parenting style. So you nailed it on the head when you talked about open communication, excuse me, and not trying to force as an adult your own ideology onto kids, especially during the formative years when they are figuring things out. For starters. In addition...
Wait, hold on. Can we take one step back? Would you kind of like to announce yourself or just kind of like where your knowledge comes from?
Oh, okay. Well, I've worked past 20 years as an educator and in the field of, I also have a degree in clinical mental health counseling, and I'm also highly intuitive. So it's just my experience in working with kids from the get-go and understanding, and my research is in human development. So what I look at is human behavior across the lifetime, starting out whether it's in stages or if you view human development in incrementally, what's going on at a particular time. Excuse me, I've been dusting and now it's all in my throat. A lozenger. At any rate, you know, there are many different variables at different times. So if you look at nature versus nurture, which has been a big debate across, you know, the years, is it more biological or is it more environmental, where you can't have one without the other. So given that, on the environment end, you put into context energy, now you put a whole nother outlier out there in terms of how behavior can be affected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you look at biology, because you cannot get away from biology, we're in this physical world with the human body, so the biological functioning does have a lot to play, whether or not it's on a hormone level. You know, with kids, their prefrontal cortex isn't completely fused together, so there are some issues with impulsivity. And what I liked about what Sirena had said earlier on was the danger in diagnosing or labeling kids, because it does set the tone for the child to become that label and to be identified as that label. When what we're looking at now from a perspective of, you know, kids being diagnosed with ADHD, so on and so forth, that actually it's trauma. So you do have to take a look back to see what is going on from an integrated standpoint, where, you know, schools are working with law enforcement agencies, mental health agencies, so on and so forth, so that you have a clearer picture when a kid is in a compromising situation, particularly when they're displaying anxiety, stress, which leads to violent behavior, because it becomes a catch-all. Oh, hey, the kid's a problem kid. The kid is, you know, ADHD, now bipolar, you name it, people love to label, because as Sirena had indicated, it is convenient. Because if I can label you, then I can put you in a box and I can say this is how we're going to look at it. And what we're finding is that these kids are coming to the party and it's not a diagnosis, it's trauma. And through that trauma, what we're seeing is you have the potential for these kids to grow up to become these school shooters and to execute this violent behavior that is affecting everybody.
Right.
So, like everything that you guys have been talking about, and really you're nailing everything on the head, because you can't take, in my opinion, you can't take the nurturing out and you can't take the environment out, so you have to see at any given time what that looks like with a kid. And as you both were talking about open communication, that's the best way, and for your daughter, she's 7. So working with her and allowing her to kind of guide and help her to translate what she is seeing or hearing, even if it has nothing to do with spirituality, quote unquote, and it's more of an academic setting, is to teach her to have her voice. And how does that voice resonate with you? Because there are a lot of parents that like it this way. It's going to be A, B, C, D, and E. That's how you're going to follow suit. If you do not, there are consequences. Well, we can read the studies and see those kids coming up in those homes, which could be the repeating cycles of violent behavior. They're becoming abusers. They're socially affected. They grow into clinical depression, so on and so forth. So taking the time out to listen to your child and to just basically explore, as Sirena was indicating, which I love, because everything that was coming to my mind, she was getting out of her mouth. I'm like, score, hot dang, there we go.
Yeah, actually, that whole section of it kind of brought home to me my 8-year-old. She's had issues in school, being the bully and pushing kids and getting detention. She is in gifted classes and is doing very well. She's very detailed, very structured, but she, quote unquote, does not stay on task. So they do the whole color coding chart. Okay, well, today she was yellow. We got to work on that to get her back up to green with the other kids and this and that. So I had a meeting with her teacher and the principal and the school counselor, and I told them that she loves to draw and she loves to write. She loves writing stories. She likes writing plays. And so her first grade teacher had actually implemented something where she gave her a journal. And anytime she felt the need to want to, spit at somebody or punch somebody or whatever in the middle of class, which is what she was doing, that she could draw. Because I said, well, she loves to draw. When she's at home, if I give her a notepad or something, she'll calm down. And so they didn't do that last year, and then this year she was having some more issues according to them. Of course, it was affecting other kids. So I asked if they would allow her to have a journal, and now she's on task, I'm like, all she needs is, she's not going to be disruptive about it. She just needs to draw when she needs to draw.
And that's a great intervention. And one thing I just kept thinking that came to my mind is going back to what I call Lee Cantor's version of classroom discipline with the different colors, stoplight colors, is what's going on, how does she register yellow? What does that mean to her? Does she even know what that means to her?
Yeah, she knows that if she gets another yellow, or if she does one more thing, when she gets put down on that yellow, that it's either a detention or I get called in.
So let me ask you this. When she's getting that yellow color or any other subcolor, are they charting frequency and intervals of what's going on that causes her, that could be a potential cause to her acting out in the manner in which she is?
I mean, they don't really track it, honestly, because for whatever reason this year they implemented on having, instead of the teachers coloring in, they're having the students color it in, and now they're having other students chart on where they feel kids need to be, which I think is kind of ridiculous to have their peers telling them to.
So, wait, hold on, back up. They're teaching their peers how to judge them?
They're having their peers now, like a different student, and I don't think they do it every day, but they'll select a student of the day that gets to tell them where they need to clip. Are you purple? Are you green? And I don't agree with that at all.
No, that is
because
an old school form of peer coaching, which in my opinion has been deemed ineffective, and plus they're too young. And so what they're doing is setting up that struggle to say, okay, guess what? I'm in charge of you. You'll do what I say. And the whole line of competition starts, and then aggravation sets in. And I think you're more inclined to have some disruptive behavior, to be honest.
It causes more anxiety in my 8-year-old. She's anxious about it. She's like, I'm going to pray to God today that I can stay on green, and I'm like, do your best. That's all I ask. Be respectful.
Take a look at how that anxiety translates into academic work. So if you're worried about your behavior and whether or not you are going to be able to fit the bill, quote unquote, then I can't imagine that your attention is on skill building and for the purpose that you are in school. So, there's a lot of opinions I could offer. It just comes down to, I think Sirena delivered it, in a beautiful manner, keeping the communication open, getting her to translate her own thoughts, because they are going to change. And with her mode of, her predominant mode of learning could also change too. So exposing her to multiple, intelligent features, I think, is a great way, and then also will allow her to control her energy. Just like Sirena said with, is she interested in art? Getting her something to pour into that she can express herself and perhaps, eradicate and balance out some of those energy issues she's having.
Right, absolutely.
So that's my 2 cents. I'm like, wow, I don't really have to say anything, Sirena. You got it.
Thanks. I had to put on mute. I have a dog here in my throat.
Yeah, let's party over here. And, and it's a work in progress, and it is a lot of trial and error, and depending on the day where kids are, one thing that may have been effective the day before might not be as effective in the current day. But making sure talking to parents and having counseled children is to say that you need to allow them to express themselves and not to butt in with your own thoughts, but to really allow them to identify with how the story is going to go, and to teach them how to regulate emotions when they do fall in that contrast of, well, it's right and wrong and they're bad and I'm good, or I'm bad and they're good, and really learn some coping skills, I guess, is where I come from. Coping skills of how to live in this physical world, knowing that energy is all around us and is playing with us, vice versa, on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah, everything you told me today was very, very helpful, and I guess validated some things that I've already started doing, with my children, but absolutely, learning more about energy itself and having more open discussions with, and I'll probably include my 8-year-old as well, just because they're 2 peas in a pod and they share a bedroom and they talk, to have each other to kind of communicate about it, even though one may not be intuitive like that. But
teaching them that is going to, help both of them learn how to relate to themselves, their surroundings, and other people. And it does sound like that's something that your 8-year-old could use.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think my belief is, it actually makes me mad sometimes, I don't understand why the concept of energy is not taught in school and taken into consideration in the medical field, in the field of psychology, and sociology and biology, and just like every field. I think that should be the number one thing that is looked at and incorporated regardless of what a diagnosis is, because it does have an effect on us no matter how you look at it. And it's actually the only scientifically proven thing out there that everybody can agree on. All the science theories out there, there's people still going back and forth with them. There's nothing concrete, except we know that energy is in everything, and we know how energy works. Outside of that, we also know that you can't destroy it. It's constantly changing. So outside of that, we don't have any other concrete science out there. They're just now starting to be able to build some concrete science with quantum physics and things like that. But all the theories out there, they're just that. They're just theories. That's it. So why are we not teaching the one thing that everybody can agree on in every aspect of our lives? We understand there are people that talk about energy, and the scientists understand that it affects everything. So why is it not being taken into consideration? This can help everybody on every level. So you open up that conversation, and it's going to help them understand how to relate to just everything around them. It's also going to help them realize that, they really aren't any different than anybody or anything else. And once you have that concept in you, then you really start taking that into consideration. Like, wait a minute, I'm not better than this person, and I'm no different than this person or this thing. We're made up of the same exact molecules and atoms and neutrons, and so that definitely helps with response to people and scenarios and situations. But
I don't think you'll ever have that as long as you have cross-categorical cultures and religion.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think with you having a child that is enhanced and intuitive, and you having a problem child in the same room. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called your child a problem child. I'm like the last person that likes to label a child as one that's not relating to other people or not responding what we deem as correct. I think that this could very well be one of the reasons that your enhanced daughter was talking to you about. Like, I chose you as a mom because I felt that you needed her. What better way to communicate with your child than another child? Like, they could really balance each other out. Kids have a way of talking to each other, so they'll be able to put it into terms. If you're teaching them both the same thing, they go back in the room and they talk about it. They're going to be able to put it in their own terms, and chances are your more enhanced daughter will be able to help your other daughter, just respond better and relate better to people.
Yeah. And they share a lot of the same friends, and it's kind of difficult because, some of the friends are like, well, I don't want to go because of your sister. She'll be mean to me. And then I feel bad because sometimes they straight out tell her, I'm not coming, with her sister there in front, I'm not coming because you're going to be there. And of course that just, crushes her that, what did I do? Why don't they want to come over? And, it's difficult because they are so close in age and they do have the same friends and the same interests. I've tried to separate them and try to get them more evolved individually, in what they like to do, and tell them it's okay. You don't have to like what your sister does, but that's what she likes to do, and you don't have to have the same friends just because it's convenient, So I'm trying to work on them to develop their individuality, but also know that they can have common things that they can talk about, and there are things that they do like, that they both like. But I want them to be their own individuals, and not just be, there's the sisters right there, Everybody thinks they're twins.
I'm assuming that it's probably difficult for your 8-year-old to make friends that she feels like she's truly connected with if she's not, responding properly to people, or as these kids don't understand her response to them,
Yeah, she's very blunt. Where my 7-year-old is very my 7-year-old has a way of knowing how to respond in different situations. And she's kind of a chameleon where she can, morph into whatever area she's at. If we're somewhere where she needs to be quiet, she will. If we're, somewhere that's fun and this and she's very adaptable. My 8-year-old is her. This is me. Either you like it or, shove it, and she'll tell you. She's very
Well, I would suggest
blunt.
looking at that trait. Bluntness can be a gift if it's utilized in the right way. You need to have her use that for, self-support in a positive way. So something that she needs to have that self-confidence and support and be combative in a positive way. Like, you said she's into art, right?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you, I'm an artist, and the art world is, it's a challenging world. You have a lot of critics. There's always going to be a better artist than you. There's always, he was always judging you, and you have to learn how to stand your ground and say, no, this is me. This is why I'm doing this. I'm not going to change because it's what you like. That's super important in an artist. You just have to
and that's the way she is.
And have her utilize it just for that. However,
she's very organized.
Something my husband said to me, because I used to be like that. I'm not going to change for anybody. I am who I am, blah, 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 blah. I used to never dress up. I used to, I used to never dress up. I would just wear whatever the hell I wanted when I wanted. And one day, my husband goes, why don't you, just try putting this outfit on and see the different response people. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. People just need to get to know me, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, if all it takes is changing your clothes to get you to where you want to go that much quicker, then it doesn't change you, right? And I was like, that really spoke to me. I'm like, I guess you're right. It's actually, I'm taking charge of my life, and I'm being the person that I want, because I, decide to dress nice for one evening to get that respect that I need to move up a level, I can. Or in your daughter's sense, like, it's going to get her, if she's hating school, it's going to get her out of school that much quicker if she just sits there and just shuts up,
Right.
It's actually taking control of your life. So I was looking at it as, me constantly being combative and saying, this is me and I'm not going to change for you. I looked at it as if I did something everybody else said or did, then I wasn't being me. But realistically, it was let me be in charge of my life, because I got to choose how quickly I progressed in it.
Right. Yeah, she I mean, she has a lot of wonderful qualities, and I just see her like honestly owning her own company one day because she's a leader. She doesn't allow anybody to change her mind because there's definitely no way you'll ever do that. Like I said, she's very organized. She's very detailed, very precise with everything she does. You know, she's not one that likes to get dirty. You know, she's been using utensils since she was about 9 months old. She likes things neat and in order. You know, she's very detailed. And my 7-year-old is way opposite.
Well,
Total opposite.
I would also suggest for your 8-year-old, so she feels like her opinion's being heard, because that's obviously important. Get her into some essay writing. Also, I got my daughter this book. It's called My Amazing Book. And you can get either the comic book version of this or the regular book version of this. And you can write a story and illustrate it, and then you send it back in and they publish you a hardbound book. And it's completely included in the cost. I think it was like $56. And this is something actually me and my daughter is working on right now. So she's able to write her story and illustrate it any way that she wants, and it's publishing a book. And this is like huge to her. She's like, oh my God, I'm going to have a published book.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, when she's been making books since she was probably 3, and she likes to put at the back who she's the author, she's the illustrator.
Yeah,
and she writes all that in the back too. It's cute, but her stories are very very creative, and I would like for her to do something more with that. It's a great outlet for her, the drawing and the writing, and she loves reading books.
So use that as a reward basis. That's I got it on Amazon, and they'll do like these specials on like their educational. They'll do discounts and specials on like educational tools and stuff. Or toys. It's like I'm pretty positive it was listed underneath their like educational like toys section. So if you want, I can find it and send you the link.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. She would love that.
And it was worth it, The money is definitely worth it. To tell you the truth, it just comes in a box and it's like blank pages, and you like fill out this part for like the author and illustrator and stuff like that, and then you design your book or write out your book on these pages, and you can either scan them in or mail it in, and you can decide to have it typeset or in your kid's handwriting. So, the box, it's just kind of like blank pages, and it tells you like all the different steps. But that's what you mail in or scan in. You're really paying for like the publishing of this book. That's really what you're paying for, is to get the hardbound copy and it published. And then if you want to order a second one or something, it's a little cheaper, stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, right.
I'm probably going to have to drop off. Everybody's knocking on my door.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up this call anyways. So, thank you guys for joining. Thank you, John and Anna, and I will get this put together in video form, and I will post it. Anna, if you would like a personal copy, if you can send me your email. I don't know, are you on Facebook?
Yes.
Okay. So if you can send me your email, I can send you a personal copy.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
Nice work.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.